we go. PoPo's Bizarre Adventures. So let's start on a high note. The Supreme Court officially says that you can sue cops who frame you on false charges. Yeah, it's taken this long to get to this point. I know, it's kind of fucking insane. That we're like, wait, what? Yeah, people prior to this decision, police officers could frame people, file bogus charges, conjure evidence out of thin air if you so chose. And in the US, at least, they would be immune from any sort of civil accountability for that malicious prosecution. Until this month. This month, it was Larry Thompson. It was, Thompson v. I don't know who it was v. Either way. Larry Thompson's sister-in-law called 911 after noticing the baby had a rash. Remember we covered this? And fucking this resulted in the decision. It's official at this point. When the charges are dismissed, they have indicated his innocence, and as such, evidence fabricated to support said case can then be used in the civil trial against the police officers. So yes, you can now actually sue cops who manufacture charges against you. I know it's insane that it just now, but bonus.
A Los Angeles.
Of course, you can't. You basically can't get criminal charges filed worth of shit though, because prosecutors are fucking cops too. So you can't get criminal charges. This is just civil charges. Now you can actually file a civil suit against these pieces of shit. Prior to that, you couldn't file civil. You're not getting criminal charges filed against these cops, period. Right? You got to get past a DA. You got to get past the fucking judge. You got to get past a grand jury. You got to get past the fucking jury itself. Hey, Scotty. So the fact of the matter is that you're not getting charges filed, but at least in this case, you know. Yes. Yeah. Same. Yes. It's against, in this instance, it's against the cop. We haven't tested trial. Kavanaugh, in his opinion, indicated the court must start its analysis based on the torts available in 1871 because that was the year Congress passed the law authorizing lawsuits against state and local officers who deprive individuals of their rights. Well, there goes any interest in reading that fucking opinion, Marcus. Kavanaugh was, I do believe Kavanaugh got to write the majority dissent on that one. Fucking A. So Los Angeles, let's start fucking moving around. LA County Sheriff, Alex Villanueva, he is facing accusations that he has been covering up violent jail incidents. The most recent is between a deputy and an inmate, and then lying about, he's been saying that he didn't know about it for months, but of course there's evidence to show that he knew about it as well. But, so at the end of the day, he was concerned that the case was going to make him look bad, so he ordered it buried. But what actually happened was last year, March, LA County Sheriff's deputies were preparing 2 inmates for their court appearance at San Fernando County Courthouse. There's a fight that breaks out. Deputies take down 2 inmates, 4 deputies involved. 16 seconds into the struggle, the deputy who caught a punch in it presses his knee right into the fucking one of the inmates' head and neck. 35 seconds, the inmate's under control and cuffed. Other deputies step away at this point, but the deputy, Johnson, keeps his knee pressed on the inmate's neck for nearly 3 minutes. Internal reports show that minor injuries, because apparently it was luckily like sort of angled side, not fucking right here. But the sheriff's department did no investigation whatsoever and tried to sweep the whole thing under the rug. But because of the manner in which what this is occurring and leading up to the courthouse, the district attorney is required to be notified in these instances to determine if the inmate should face new charges or not. Sheriff's Department didn't do any of that because they knew they fucked up. They knew they fucked up with the fucking use of force, so they just didn't report even their dude catching a fucking punch to the face to the DA. They're like, bury the entire fucking thing. So then it comes to attention to the actual sheriff's office, and he fucking sweeps it under the rug and then pretends he didn't find out about it until months and months and months later. But the sheriff was actually shown the video towards the end of March, but he didn't say or do anything about it until November. There were multiple members of the organization that were there and witnessed the sheriff being shown the video and that he were present. This was apparently viewed in a public place where secondary witnesses could witnessed it as well. So yes, the sheriff like literally just sort of tried to sweep the entire thing under the rug because one of their cops essentially tried to fucking knee neck a fucking inmate to death probably, but it didn't take. Then they knew they were going to get in trouble for it, so everybody just swept it under the rug. Jumping around. We're going to jump around. Georgia. Oh, Georgia. East Point, Georgia. 2 former police officers have been indicted. What have they been indicted on? Oh, well, 4 years ago, they shot an unarmed man. Isn't it amazing the speed at which the justice system moves for people who aren't a part of it? The so-called justice system. They call it justice system because it's just us that it affects. Anyway, yes. So a couple of cops, without, this is the direct quote, without legal justification, shot the innocent man in the back. Did he have a gun? Absolutely not. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation and the district attorney both can confirm there was never a gun on the scene or ever one in his possession. He now lives the individual now lives in a nursing home as a quadriplegic. And so he has to sit in bed for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, forever. He will never regain mobility or movement below his neck. And his life is absolutely ruined. So the 2 cops fucking shot him. Yeah, that's what it boils down to. We'll see if the grand jury can return a fucking indictment. It's a Georgia grand jury, so, we'll see if that happens. But 2 counts of violation of oath, reckless conduct, aggravated assault, and aggravated battery. That's what they're facing. That's it. They're not, So, no, I don't think it is nearly enough either, got punk. But, charges against cops, what are you going to do, right? So, over the last decade, over 200 cops have been caught directly lying to the Civilian Complaint Review Board. And nothing happened to them. Out of the entire batch of cops that have been caught lying to the New York Civilian Complaint Review Board, 4 have been suspended. That's it. 80 weren't disciplined at all. 43 just lost vacation days. 42 were only subject to instruction. Yeah. So it is basically, let's see if I can get the image here for you. You'll love the chart. And for anybody who wants the actual report, it's from a group called Latino Justice. Here's the actual report. But basically, 4 were suspended, 12 were allowed to resign or pending some sort of action. This is straight up what happens when a cop lies to a review board. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nothing happens. Yeah. It's just shielded from accountability. I don't, loss of vacation days, whether that's a punishment. They'll take a couple of your vacation days. It's like being like in school suspension or some shit like that. Some of the cases where they got caught lying were bad. They were bad. I mean, people got fucked up. People got shot. People really got worked over, right? Like, and they covered up. They fucking nothing. So, Baltimore. What are you two? Oh, whatever. Jumping over to Baltimore. Fucking a few days ago, last week, we're still on last week's. So basically a Baltimore detective was convicted on federal charges of conspiracy to deprive civil rights. Let's name check him. Former Officer Robert Hankard of Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore PD. Look, Baltimore PD is fucking shit to start with, right? Baltimore PD are the ones that shot the dude for being black while drinking iced tea, right? I'm pretty sure that was Baltimore. Baltimore is infamously bad as far as the police department goes. They're up there with the worst of the worst. They can make their claims right there alongside Chicago and Boston and shit like that, right? So he, Wire's good though. They shot a dude, and then they planted a BB gun on him. Then they falsified an application for a search warrant. Then in the arrest warrant, in a second incident where they then planted drugs on the suspect, he then also falsely testified to a federal grand jury in a federal investigation and then falsified another application for a search warrant and subsequent police report related to the search of an apartment. Like, this is a Russian nesting doll of fuck-ups, right? Like, this is the fact that, and just one dude, by the way, one dude, right? Nobody else in the department, no other DA, no other prosecutor, no other CO, no other fucking partner. No one in the department knew, but it was only this guy planting evidence, falsifying reports, falsifying fucking the submissions for search warrants. Nobody knew shit. It was just fucking Robert Hankford, though. They're just tossing this motherfucker under the bus to save the organization, because you know the organization. They're going for this dude for conspiracy, but he's the only conspirator apparently. Right? Doesn't a conspiracy take more than one person? This is just me thinking out loud here. But yeah, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Maryland and Special Agent in charge of the FBI fucking announced the conviction of this one officer. Yeah. So, yes. Yeah. I got nothing beyond that. I mean, imagine he planted evidence. He falsely testified to a federal grand jury. He falsified an application for a search warrant. He falsified the arrest report in a second incident where then drugs were planted on the suspect. Then he falsely testified to a federal grand jury in a federal investigation, and then falsified an application for a search warrant and subsequent police report related to the search of the apartment. Right? He's the only one. He's the only one. Sure. Sure. Satellite like Abu Ghraib was only done by corporals and sergeants. Exactly. Fucking A. All right. Oh, this guy. Oh, Corey Marino Jr. Mariano, I think. Yeah, that's not what qualified immunity is. Red wine. I'm with Marcus. That's not that's not qualified immunity. It's not how it works. And by the way, you're speaking to an attorney when you're talking to Marcus. Red wine. Like, Marcus is actually a practicing attorney. So, who defends, does criminal defense, right? Like, yeah. Anyway, Corey Mariano Jr. He's a Florida resident. He's just a upstanding black citizen. Last February, a group of police officers who did not appropriately identify themselves burst into his fucking house at 5 a.m. with a SWAT team, and he fired one shot at the SWAT team member who was lead member. This, of course, prompted them to return fire, but no one was injured by the gunfire. Okay? This is just and the NRA says nothing. The NRA says nothing, as well as the Second Amendment Foundation public, if you're keeping track. During the incident, there was one injury, if you're keeping track. It was his 1-year-old son, Silent, who the police took into custody and put in their patrol vehicle. And when they went to open the door, they didn't look, and Silent was on the door. And so the cop apparently yanks the fucking the squad car door open, yanking Silent out on the door, slamming the 1-year-old into the pavement and severely injuring him when he fell face first onto the pavement. So the only injury that actually came out of this was to his 1-year-old child, who was in the custody of the police. That's the only actual injury that had occurred. But they tried to charge him with attempted murder charges because, black man fired a round at the cops. Never mind the fact that they had insufficient proof for multiple things. But they tried to argue that he had prior knowledge that he was firing at a police officer, and so they had to prove mens rea. They had to prove that he was in fact guilty and knowingly guilty of firing at a police officer. The Pensacola Police Department couldn't clear that hurdle by a mile. So the court determined that all charges should be dismissed and that his record should be cleared. he has since been fired from the Navy Federal Credit Union after his attempted murder of a police officer charge. So the family has announced that they will be suing the Pensacola Police Department and others related in the case. So we'll see where that goes from there. But he got away with the fucking shot. Credit where credit's due. He may be he's one of the only black men I've ever seen who got away with that. There's been a few cases where white dudes have shot. There's one I remember a ways back where he fucking unloaded his AR-15 at him. And he hit a couple. I forget that dude. But he got away with it because they were at the wrong house entirely and they didn't correctly identify themselves. So, yeah. Let's see. So Santa Ana Police Department was the latest one that got caught. Ups or down, up or down. Santa Ana Police Department is the latest one that got caught blaring Disney music in an attempt to curb live streaming or curb upload to YouTube and that sort of thing. They're investigating themselves. The chief of police has stated that my expectation is that all police department employees perform their duties with dignity and respect to the community we are hired to serve, blah, 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 blah. So yes. Toy Story. Apparently music from Toy Story was what the officer Hernandez, was attempting to play while harassing the local community. Yes. So look for that to definitely stop. Here's sort of a multi-parter. There we go. So let's see if I can't find this. This story is kind of weird as shit. It's really weird as shit. There we go. Now, really? There we go. Image address. There we go. Cool. All right. I can't find, for the love of God, what is this woman's first fucking name? Marie. Thank you. Jesus fucking Christ. So here's Marie Riley. Back in 2009, thank you, El Bastard de Loco. This is Marie Riley. Back in 2009, she was pulled over by a gentleman by the name of Daniel Wilkie. Here's Daniel Wilkie. Okay. She was pulled over for a traffic stop. He forcibly baptized her. Yeah, he basically, he said, yeah, he basically pulled her from the car, excessive force, assault, intimidation, that sort of thing. Unreasonable search, failure to protect, render aid, negligence, battery, assault, infliction, intentional infliction of emotional damage. But he baptized her. He also, let's say, inappropriately touched her. Now, here's where things get interesting, shall we say. He has 44 counts against him, including rape, assault, official oppression. He groped her in the crotch after putting her in handcuffs. Yeah. So 44 counts against this motherfucker who tried to forcibly baptize her and rape her. I don't know if he was trying to wash off his sin. I don't know. But here's where it gets weird. The judge had just okayed the lawsuit to progress against good old Wilkie here. Yes, very Christian. The judge had just okayed the lawsuit to progress against her when 7 days later, she was found dead in her home. She's not old. She doesn't have pre-existing health conditions. She was discovered dead at her home on Log Cabin Lane. Her cause of death has not been reported. The autopsy has yet to be performed at the last reporting of this. Yeah. So this motherfucker pulls this woman out of her car and tries to rape her and forcibly baptize her. And when the judge says the court case can go ahead on this piece of shit, she turns up dead a week later. Just saying. Yeah. Oh, yeah. She, most assuredly. Most assuredly. I mean, there's a few. There's a few. Armstrong, Iowa. Armstrong, Iowa. I don't know what's going on there, but holy shit, don't go there. A police officer there has been charged with dozens of crimes, quote, joining the former mayor, police chief, and 3 clerks of the small city, all facing criminal charges. Benjamin Shevel was charged this month with 84 felony and misdemeanor offenses, including numerous charges for misconduct in office, unauthorized access to police records, tax evasion, perjury, stalking, theft, assault. The alleged offenses were committed from 2016 to 2020, a period in which Shevel worked for both Armstrong and Esterville police departments. Another Esterville official, Tyler Van Rokel, has been charged with a dozen offenses at the same time, primarily for misconduct in office and unauthorized dissemination of intelligence history data. Officials in Armstrong, a population of 875, didn't respond to messages seeking comment, but the Esterville Police Chief Brent Shadow confirmed in a statement that Shevel worked for Esterville from 2016 to 2019, and then Van Rokel is currently still employed. So the dude who has a dozen offenses, charges against him is still working as a police officer, I guess. Yeah. He's also been charged with evading taxes. Oh, he's going down then. He's going down. He's been charged with evading taxes as well, on wages paid. Another indictment alleges misuse of the stun gun that was issued to him. He's been charged with stalking against 2 women. Protective orders have been issued. Fucking Jesus Christ. He's at least 14 of the additional individuals whose records he accessed appear to be women, including 2 of which he's actively accused of stalking. He's charged with obstruction for allegedly trying between 2019 and 2022 to obstruct the prosecution of Van Rokel, who was in charge in turn with sharing unauthorized information with Shevel. The cases are being prosecuted by the Iowa Attorney General's office, and they, of course, have declined to comment. But yes, the police chief was charged with accepting cash to shoot the former clerk's boyfriend at a party. According to new charges against Shevel, he provided a taser for a potential tasing of the former boyfriend. The former mayor, and the cases remain against the former mayor and the former city clerk. 2 other former city clerks have pleaded guilty but haven't been sentenced, according to online records. Court records and city records show state officials spent years investigating the Armstrong officials, including one 2017 report by then State Auditor Mary Moseman, finding that the city's finances were, quote, so mismanaged that my auditors couldn't tell whether most of the spending was appropriate or legal. So, I mean, I don't even know how to file that one, right? Mayor, city fucking clerks, cops, fucking just the whole lot of them. Stalking and assault and fucking gun for hire and fucking misappropriation and unauthorized access of surveillance, blah, 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 blah. I mean, the one cop alone has 84 felony and misdemeanor charges against him. So just chalk that one up for holy shit and the fucking kitchen sink to boot, right? So Iowa, let's jump over to Michigan. Michigan, good old fashioned cop stuff. A child sex sting has caught the Western Michigan University public safety officer and 2 others in their sex sting operation. The public safety officer at Western Michigan University, a guy by the name of Abraham. Are you shitting me? Honky. His name is Honky. His name is Abraham Honky. Good to know, non-binary. Good to know. So he he arranged to meet this gentleman here who was charged. He was given the power to oversee a university campus. He arranged to meet what he thought was a 15-year-old girl for the express purpose of having sex in exchange for money. Oh, good old-fashioned cop shit. Good old-fashioned cop shit. I don't have a picture of it. I wanted a picture of it. Did he have the money? So who was the judge? Patricia Millett. Patricia Millett and Judge Robert Wilkins were part of a 3-judge panel for the Federal Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia. And credit where credit's due, they threw some shit at the FBI. Now, there's no consequence here. All right? This is just if you needed any further evidence that you live in a different world than the rich people, right? Properly rich, right? Here you go. They were hearing a case in which the FBI went out of their way to go enter the house through the back door. When queried by the panel of judges as to why the FBI made such a concerted effort to go through the back door rather than go through the front, was there some sort of strategic gain to be made by this? The representation for the government answered that the suspect lived in an affluent neighborhood and the agents did not want to do anything to interfere with the aesthetics of the community. Let me remind you, the suspect lived in an affluent neighborhood and the FBI agents did not want to do anything to interfere with the aesthetics of the community. Judge Patricia Millett immediately burst out and said, "This is outrageous behavior by the FBI." Judge Robert Wilkins agreed, saying, "I was a public defender here for 10 years. I can't tell you how many of my clients had their front doors bashed in. I don't remember a single time where any agent or police officer was worried about the aesthetics of what their house would look like after." Yeah. So if you were wondering whether you live in the same world or not, you don't. You don't. It's that simple. Oh. Oh, yeah, I don't doubt that at all, Zippy. Hey, Deirdre. Meet Daryl Howard. Mr. Howard had a Durham, North Carolina detective. Yes, they are with her. The links are on the VOD. Mr. Howard was wrongfully convicted of murder and imprisoned for just over 2 decades of his life because a Durham, North Carolina detective fabricated evidence that he was guilty. Now, in the ensuing lawsuit, Mr. Howard was awarded $6 million by a jury. He has proved his innocence. He has gone through every court. Every judge has agreed. Even the governor has agreed. Durham refuses to pay the $6 million. And not only do they refuse to pay the $6 million, in fact, Durham, North Carolina is now demanding Mr. Howard pay the legal fees of the 2 city employees dismissed from the suit. He was convicted on 2 counts, 1 second-degree murder and 1 arson. Both convictions are dismissed. The convictions were vacated, and the charges were officially dismissed, and he was officially pardoned by the governor. In December, the federal jury found the former Durham detective Daryl Dowdy had fabricated the evidence, and conducted an incomplete investigation. The jury awarded Howard $6 million in damages. The city has thus far spent $4 million fighting Howard's civil rights lawsuit, which originally included apparently the city and several employees, but the defendants ultimately as defendants, but ultimately just included Dowdy. Now, the city says it won't indemnify Dowdy, who it employed for 36 years. That means it refuses to pay the $6 million the jury awarded Howard. See, the reasoning here is that the city is saying we only pay out if cops and other employees are acting in good faith, not maliciously. And since the officer that framed Howard was found to be acting in good faith, the city is no longer responsible. Figure it out for yourself. Rev, I mean, I would think so. But again, they've already spent $4 million making sure they don't have to pay this. So who the fuck knows? Yeah, Karina, they probably will. Oh, Las Cruces. Oh, Las Cruces. So, Las Cruces, New Mexico. Yeah, 6 million damages is a lot, but you know what? 10 million's even more. And seeing as they've already spent 4 million on top of the 6, they're looking at 10 now. Las Cruces, New Mexico Police Department. Oh, Las Cruces. So the police confirmed last Monday, that officers had responded to a 911 call. What's up, Radical? They responded to a call regarding a 75-year-old dementia-ridden woman. Family members called and said their 75-year-old relative is living with dementia and experiencing a mental health crisis. And the aunt ended up calling the police so they could try and get an ambulance to try and get her some help. Apparently, she had a kitchen knife. When the officers came, she had knives next to her. She had knives next to her, not in her hand. That she had knives near her. The officer kept yelling to put the knife down. This is according to the family. There were no knives in her hands. The officer kept yelling at a dementia patient who was standing near knives to put the knives down. Can you imagine the confusion that this was causing in this woman? According to eyewitnesses on the scene, the officers remove the family members from the house. The family members insisting that she's mentally ill. Again, eyewitnesses all state the knives were not in her hand. They were next to her. The officer screams, "Put the fucking knife down, put the fucking knife down." They then pushed the cousin and the aunt away, and the officer fires 2 shots at the grandmother. Eyewitnesses on the scene say the officer the woman and the officer were only a few feet apart when the shots were fired. The whole incident lasted no more than a few minutes. Just another example of don't call the cops, right? Like the Denver crew, the Oregon crew, that was Star in Denver, and I forget what the ones in Oregon is called. They would have responded to this without police, without force, and they would have handled it just fine. How do I know they would have handled it just fine? Because the Star group out of Denver has handled all of their cases without ever calling the cops. They've never called for backup from the police. They don't need them. They've handled all of their like mad junkie fucking dude on PCP, fucking person in the middle of a mental health crisis, fucking all of it. Cahoots. Thank you, Beast. Cahoots. They handle all that shit. And they do it without ever calling the cops. This is just another example of this is what happens when you call the cops. Don't fucking call the cops. Ever. If you can get away with it. Oklahoma. Hey, where's that moron from the last time we did a PoPo's Bizarre Adventures who was like, these are all blue states? Fuck it. We had a bunch of fucking red states this time. Of course, that idiot thought Florida was a blue state too. Either way, Oklahoma. Corrections officer guilty of facilitating white supremacist attacks on black inmates. Jury found a former supervising corrections officer guilty of facilitating opportunities for white supremacist inmates to attack black inmates, according to an announcement by the Justice Department on Friday. He was convicted for violating the rights of two specific prisoners, D'Angelo Wilson and Marcus Miller, by transferring them to an area at Kay County Detention Center where he knowingly that white supremacists were being detained. Testimony revealed that who's this Matthew Ware? Matthew Ware's the piece of shit. That he ordered his subordinate officers to unlock the cells so that the white supremacists could get into Wilson and Miller. Both Wilson and Miller were injured in this specific attack, needing stitches to face due to cuts and slashes. The jury also found the supervising corrections officer Ware, thanks for the follow, guilty of using excessive force on a third inmate. The DOJ reported that Ware is facing up to 10 years in prison, could be fined $250,000. But either way, he abused his power and authority. And the Civil Rights Division is going to pursue further in Oklahoma. So, yeah. Fucking A. I mean, par for the course. We knew they'd do it. But we have to track them. We have to mention it. PoPo's Bizarre Adventures, right? Fucking making it possible for white supremacists to kick the shit out of black inmates in Oklahoma. That's a good look. Add it to the list. Night Cop got punk. So there's a death penalty case in Arizona. Guy by the name of Clarence Dixon. He's essentially going for his last ditch effort for clemency. His attorneys are arguing that the board, which later this month will be considering commuting the sentence, is illegally stacked with former cops. Now, here's the kicker. State law requires that the board have no more than 2 members from any professional discipline. 3 members of the 5-person board worked in law enforcement for decades. The board chair is a former assistant attorney general, and then the other seat is vacant. So it's a 5-person board. They only have 4 members. One of them is a former assistant attorney general, and all the other 3 are all former cops. Okay, straight up illegal per their own specifications in Arizona. But Maricopa County Superior Court judge, a guy by the name of Stephen Hopkins. I'm surprised I don't know him. Stepdad used to operate in that part of the world. On last Tuesday morning, Hopkins struck down the special action suit. You want to know what grounds he struck it down? This is fucking brilliant. Remember, The Arizona State Clemency Board to hear death penalty cases shall have no more than 2 members from any professional discipline. He struck the motion down on the grounds that law enforcement has not been thought of as a profession. That's it. That there shall be no more than 2 members from any professional discipline. Being a cop isn't a profession. I got nothing beyond that. That's literally the end. That's the end right there. Like, the case is going to move forward into clemency hearing. Clemency is going to be denied, and this dude's going to be executed. It's that simple. Apparently in Arizona, being a cop isn't a profession. I don't know what it is then. If being a cop isn't a profession, then I don't know what the fuck it's supposed to be. So, I don't, a calling? What the fuck are we classifying it as then? And I just want to verify something really quickly. Oh, for fuck's sake, what is it? There we go. Is it mass? It's mass. Okay. A form of shooty interpretive dance. It's being a gang member. It's a way of life, man. I mean, they're unprofessional and undisciplined, but I didn't expect him to know that. Fuck. It's a spiritual experience. Let's there we go. Lieutenant Michael Beaupre, I don't fuck. Either way, this douchebag right here, this guy. Okay. Liz, thanks for the follow. He's appearing in Eastern Hampshire District Court in Massachusetts. This individual, this upstanding cop, it looks rapey. Zippy, I mean, you're not far off. You're not far off. Beaupre, if it's written, no, but it's close enough, Rye, that it's probably Beaupre then. You Zippy, your instincts are on spot on. Like, you don't want to be alone with this dude. Let's just put it that way. You don't want to be alone with this dude. He's been charged with unlawful wiretapping because he would break into women's houses, and film them. 11 charges of unlawful wiretapping, 10 charges of photographing an unsuspecting nude person. He was surveilling people in the nude. Like, yeah. Like, he's a creeper. He's a creeper. He just kind of does have that vibe, doesn't he? Time to duck. Yeah. I apparently he approached one of the victims as well and asked if he could film her sexual activities. Like, I don't even, like, according to court documents, quote, Investigators observed approximately 60 folders, each with a different woman's name, and those folders contained hundreds of videos. Of the 60 folders, we were able to locate 13 folders with video that were consistent with surreptitious recordings that they could prove. Of those 13, they were then able to positively identify 7 of those women. Multiple devices of recording. Bedroom, downstairs, living room, including audio of conversations had in the building. Yeah. Taken over 4 years, by the way. Now, are you ready? Z1. You want to know how? By being a cop. Because get ready for this. This rapey motherfucker right here. He was being held on a $5,000 bail. $5,000 bail. 60 folders with different women's names. Of that, those folders then contain hundreds of videos. This motherfucker had been surreptitiously recording the sexual activities, private lives, conversations in multiple rooms in 60 women's houses over the course of 4 years. And this motherfucker gets held on a $5,000 bail. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, it's totally fucking. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about that. That's $1,250 per year. No, you only have to put up 10% of it, Zippy. that's the trick. You only have to put up 10%. So that's, it's only $1.25 per year, really. As long as he shows up for court, Yeah. He made probably more than that selling the videos. I mean, don't know, but we shall see. Yeah. They can get away with anything. They can get away with anything. Speaking of, he was a pillar of the community. So Tiburon, California, jumping around, jumping coasts. Tiburon, California. It's in Marin County. For those of you that speak Californian and understand, I don't need to explain anything for you. For those that don't know Marin County and Tiburon, California, money, lots of money. Yeah, like lots of money. Proper wealth, not rich, wealth. Okay. So what comes along with wealth? Well, systemic racism is always a nice little cherry on the top of that pie. Two store owners, Yema Khalif and his wife, Hawi Awash. So August 2020, the couple were working late night at their clothing store. It's called Yema. Upscale clothing store in an upscale community, I mean, it's a good move. It's difficult going broke selling overpriced clothing to people who don't know the value of anything, right? Who have just more money than God and don't understand the value of a dollar. So it's difficult going broke doing that. It's credit where credit's due. They're working late one night in their clothing store, and the Tiburon Police Department comes up to the front of the fucking store and starts demanding the couple prove that they were the owners. Straight up. Cops walk right up to the fucking shop, see a couple of darkies in this high-end clothing store, and start demanding they prove they're the owners when they say they're the owners. The only reason they back down, apparently, is because the white neighbor on the commercial area, right? The white neighbor comes out and starts yelling at them and saying, you're fucking idiots. They own the store. So when the white person came out and testified on their behalf, the cops fucked off. The police chief and the police officer involved were both forced to resign because the community didn't want the bad press, right? Well, the town just paid the couple $150,000. The check just cleared. Yeah, they did. They used the Karen power. A white person just comes out like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Get the fuck out of here. They own the store. Yeah, it cost the town $150,000 for that little hassle. I mean, you know, it's a decent paycheck. It's a decent paycheck. Nobody had to take a beating. Nobody got fucking cuffed. Nobody got drugged through the street. Nobody got, you know, and yeah, it's Tiburon, for fuck's sake. Like, they got more money than God in that town. So, right, that's just $150,000. Like, you know, I don't know if they've got a kid or not. There's a college fund right there. There's a retirement fund. There's something, right? It's $150K for being temporarily hassled by some fucking racist cops. Like, I mean, it's not a bad payday. That's how you know law enforcement isn't a profession. They don't know what work looks like. Oh yeah, there's footage of it. Yeah, A3. Yeah, there's footage of it. I mean, public. It's, you know, I mean, I'd like to see him get more too, but at the end of the day, it's not bad. Is this the old dude? This is the old dude, right? Please tell me this is the old dude. I love this story. Yes. So, Ohio, Westchester. Good old Ohio. Westchester County, Westchester Township, I should say, not county, Westchester Township. And mayor, is it mayor or Meijer? Meijer. It's a regional shop, grocery store. I don't know. I think Meijer. I think it's Meijer. Either way. 2 Westchester police officers and the grocery store are named in it's mayor. Okay. Yeah, I knew there was something to it. Okay. It's been a minute since I've been in that part. Okay, I'm seeing mayor and Meyer. Regional differences. Go fuck yourselves. Either way, 2 police officers and the grocery store are being named in a lawsuit by a Butler County man. This is brilliant. This is brilliant. You get the actual description. Okay, so the grocery store calls the cops and says, we have a shoplifting incident to report. It is a white man in his 30s wearing a green or gray Carhartt coat with a red hoodie underneath. Okay? No, Westchester, Ohio, Township, Durham. White man, 30s, green or gray Carhartt coat with a red hoodie underneath. Cops rock up. Who do they arrest? A 60-year-old black man wearing an orange puffy coat with a tan and brown scarf. We got a white man in the 30s wearing a green or gray Carhartt coat with a red hoodie underneath. There's a 60-year-old black man with an orange puffy coat and a tan and brown scarf. That's who they arrest. They fucking detain this motherfucker as soon as they see him. He said, according to witnesses and the dude they arrested, he was the only black man in the store. He was the only black man in the store. 100%. They've got a description. White man in his 30s, green or gray Carhartt coat with a red hoodie underneath. White man in his 30s. These cops roll up and attempt to arrest the only black man in the store. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ. Oh, I love this story. This story is just classic cop. Like, how do you defend this? Where are the bootlickers for this case? I can't. Are you ready? Because you're like, how could it possibly get worse, Kai? How could it possibly get worse? Well, they didn't beat the dude to death, so it's not going in that direction. Another cop already had the shoplifting suspect in custody and had already called it in. They had already arrested the shoplifter. They had the guy. Another cop had already arrested him. Yeah, another cop had already detained the guy. Yeah. So, not only are they supposed to be looking for a white dude in his 30s with a gray or green Carhartt jacket with a red hoodie underneath, they're not supposed to be looking for him at all because a cop had already detained him and fucking said over the radio, "I've got our guy." So these two cops just went in to this grocery store and just started grabbing the first black person they could find. Oh. And of course, the city's not going to comment because the city doesn't comment on pending litigation. Nobody's fucking saying a word. Oh, that story is just astounding. Oh. Let's show these guys. Say hello to some current and former Met officers. Now, the Santa Ana Police Department has a unit. Oh, I should, there we go. I should get that. They have a unit. They do all look the same, don't they? They have a specialty unit. It's called the Major Enforcement Team, which operates much like a SWAT team, but some fun differences. Here's one. They all have gang tattoos. So not at all like a fucking gang tattoo at all, right? Apparently the number 040 is a reference to the Met's police radio code. And historically, of course, the ace of spades being used as a token of death. It's been used that way since Vietnam, at least by American soldiers. So, yeah. Either way. And then the token is adorned on one with an ace of spades decorated with a skull and a number 31, which is a reference to Santa Ana Police Department's Orange County radio reference number. And then they give out bottle opener tokens to their gangbanger members here. That says odorant dum metuant. Sorry, my Latin pronunciation is shit, but translated out, their tokens mean let them hate so long as they fear. So, why are we talking about the Santa Ana Police Department's major enforcement team? Because they like to grope teenage girls. And by teenage girls, I don't mean, a 19-year-old or an 18-year-old or, really anybody who's legal. They like to go around to various restaurants and harass people and operate very much like a gang. I thought they looked rapey too. Oh, super rapey. They like to verbally harass teenage girls. They like to grope them. Here's a fun incident from 2021. Santa Ana City Council member Jonathan Hernandez reports he himself has seen an off-duty Met officer and another man holding a struggling woman down in a parking lot in downtown Santa Ana, groping her breast while telling her, chill, shut up, according to police reports. Other witnesses have said they've seen off-duty Met officers holding his wife back from an intoxicated woman who was trying to fight her outside a restaurant. Various Santa Ana police officers have been sending harassing emails to city council members. Founding member of the Met unit has targeted a previous mayor. Just across the board. Oh, and also they refuse to release reports on any incident in response to the Public Records Act. That's just straight up. They're just like, no. In regards to your questions, the Public Records Act does not require the city or department to respond to questions. However, I can assist you in locating a record that is not exempt. Please feel free to contact me. Oh yes. That's just Santa Ana's one of the SWAT teams in Santa Ana, Cat, who are raping teenage girls and shit. Yeah, even city council members have seen him like holding down women in parking lots late at night, telling them to like chill, shut up, calm down, shut up. Yeah. So even city council members have seen these douchebags like trying to rape women just randomly out in the street. That's one of their that's their major enforcement team in Santa Ana. They have a gangbanger tattoo that's got the skull and the ace of spades on it and their call sign. And, they give out tokens when you officially join that says let them hate so long as they fear. Shit like that. Totally not gangbanger behavior. Let's not forget that Santa Ana is right next to Disneyland. Look like someone's gonna have a good molestation-free day soon. Put a stop to that. So Melissa Lucio looks like she might get a reprieve. Might get a reprieve. So she is the mother. She's the Mexican-American mother in Texas who is due to be put to death by, of course, by the state of Texas, even though it looks like she's probably innocent. She has a coerced confession. Experts have already said like she's got basically the definition of a coerced confession. They leaned on her for, 1,000 hours, basically. I forget how many dozen hours after a 5-hour interrogation into the night. They brought her in late at night and then they just leaned on her for the rest of the night. Her 14 children corroborated her version of events. Fucking various neighbors and people. They got a coerced confession out of this woman because her child fell and sustained internal brain injuries, for which they later died. And so this woman has been on death row and she was scheduled for execution, but I have the update as of today. 3 p.m. Eastern, so 12 hour time. The Texas Court of Criminal Appeals has halted the execution because of, well, what amounts to significant doubts about her guilt, and kicked her case back to a lower court, which is going to retry and attempt to determine if she is innocent and whether prosecutors kept evidence from the jury and her defense attorneys. So, you know, I was planning on reporting on that she was probably dead. You know, they're going to execute her, but in fact, looks like probably she might get a shot. Yeah, in Texas, it's a minor goddamn miracle. I wouldn't even say it's a minor miracle. I'd say it's just an outright miracle. So Atlanta police officers multiple police officers have come forward with evidence to show that, and they've been giving these to the media, that there's an incentive system that encourages police officers to write more tickets, that they are being literally rewarded. They're being rewarded points and then awards based on those point systems, based on their policing actions. So yeah, this is incentivized policing. This is what this technically is referred to as. So if you like, one of the examples in here is if you write a traffic ticket, that gets you Atlanta Police Department officers 1.5 points, but a felony or a juvenile arrest is worth 5 points. Meanwhile, calls for service like 911 calls, those are only worth 0.25 points. So a quarter of a point. So you are literally incentivized to arrest kids under this system and not respond to any actual distress calls. I do want to see their response. They're not even defending it. Holy shit. They're not even like trying to deny it. Sorry. They're not even trying to deny it. Good luck. They're going to be in court over that one. Jesus goddamn Christ. They're not even trying to deny it. They're just like, yeah, we do it and it's effective. Jesus. Patrick, Leoya, I think it's Leoya. Patrick Leoya. Either way, Grand Rapids, Michigan. He's the dude that got fatally shot in the back of the head by the Grand Rapids cop. Fucking basically traffic stop, guy runs, supposedly a struggle over a taser. None of that got caught on camera because the officer's body camera stops recording. Funny how that works. But we have the video. It is to quote I here, it is kind of fucked. I know that wasn't in reference to that, but you know, yeah, that's the video basically gets deactivated shortly after the cop yells, "Let go of the taser." But we do have video from across the street of the officer fucking, I mean, there's no way around it. He shot the dude in the back of the head while he was on the ground. So, like, I don't know how. I don't know how I don't know how the fucking bootlickers would defend it. He had it coming. If he fucking something taser, he could have taken the cop's life or something. I don't know. But yeah, he tackled the dude, wrestled with him, and then put a bullet in the back of his fucking skull. So we'll see what happens with that one. Is this the guy? Yeah. Probably had a drug charge 8 years ago. I know, right? So our friend here, what's up, Dig? Our friend here, Blake Travis Shimanek, he's a former Keller officer. Let's see. Hang on. I just want to make sure. There. It's Texas, right? It's Texas. I just want to double check. Yeah, it's Keller, Texas. Just wanted to double check. So our friend here, Blake Travis Shimanek, a former officer for Keller, Texas, of course. He was demoted to sergeant following an internal investigation and then was allowed to resign from the force this February. But so he approaches a car, but driven by a person by the name of Dylan Puente. He pulled Dylan over for making a wide right turn. He starts yelling at Dylan to roll his window all the way down. Puente gets out of the vehicle and begins to comply with officers' commands as Shimanek then starts screaming at him asking him why he was acting suspicious. One of my favorite fucking tactics by police officers, by the way. Let me point a gun in your face. Let me pull you over, get your cortisol and adrenal response going. Let me point a gun in your fucking face and then scream at you, why are you acting suspicious? It's a tactic. It's a tactic. It's not something they do accidentally. They do that on purpose, so you know. Shimanek, of course, has not been able to be reached for comment on these fucking cases. But either way, Marco Puente, Dylan's father, happens to be driving by at the time. He pulls up, and Dylan explains what's been happening. Shimanek then yells at Marco, the father, to park his vehicle or he'll be arrested for blocking the road. When the elder Puente returned to the scene on foot after parking his vehicle legally, he then proceeds to stand on the sidewalk across the street with his cell phone out, recording the traffic stop. A second officer, Ankit Tomer, then arrives, and Shimanek tells him to go watch Marco Puente, the elder man. He says, "Go watch him. Better yet, arrest him." Marco, of course, expresses his bewilderment at this situation. Shimanek walks across the street, and both officers then wrestle him to the ground. They handcuff him, and then they just pepper spray him repeatedly. Quote, "I'm not even doing anything. Dude, what the heck, man? What is this about?" Mr. Puente then didn't receive any further help for 15 minutes later, after he had been taken to jail. His attorney stated he was begging for help the entire time. Marco also was injured when one of the officers forcefully yanked off his sunglasses during the arrest, tearing his nostril and leaving an actual laceration and resulting scar from it. Interesting thing to note, no charges have been filed against the Puentes. The child and the elder Puentes, Dylan and Marco, respectively, charges were all dropped. It's funny how that works. So apparently the charges for the traffic stop amounted to nothing, and apparently the charges for interference amounted to nothing. So why were they harassed and beaten? Don't know. But the Puentes received recently a $200,000 settlement with this city. And Shimanek is facing a year in jail and a fine of $4,000 for illegally arresting this man, assaulting this man, and harassing his child. That's what the cop gets, is up to a year in jail and a fine up to $4,000 for official oppression. By the way, that's the actual charge, is official oppression. Official oppression. At most, you might get a year. He won't. He'll get probation. Oh, we'll hold off on that one last. Dig. So the state of Louisiana covering up for their cops actively. The state of Louisiana, House Bill 729, making its way through in Louisiana. It would ban the release of mugshots of residents who have been arrested but not convicted of a crime. But fun thing to note here is the bill exempts police mugshots, basically. So yeah, oh yeah, they get special treatment. Oh yeah, they get special treatment. 100% they get special treatment. That's not a McMansion. Those are two separate houses. Jesus Christ, people. It's just a typical fucking neighborhood. Look, these are two separate houses here. These are two garages. This is a garage over here. This is space between the house. This is space between the house. Yeah, they get special privileges as well on top of that. Yeah, it's just a nice suburban neighborhood. That's all. So let's just stay in Louisiana for a second. Louisiana State Police lieutenant charged in a hit and run investigation. Not only did he fucking do a hit and run, two reported hit and run crashes in separate parishes last year. Charges of malfeasance in office and injuring public records. Okay, did anybody catch that? Charges of malfeasance in office and injuring public records. Not, the intentional fail to stop at the scene of the initial crash and then falsely reporting damage to his vehicle during the second hit and run. Okay? He committed 2 hit and runs, covered it up, and his charges are malfeasance in office and one count each of malfeasance in office for both St. Tammany and the Orleans parishes, and then 1 count of injuring public records in the Orleans parish. 2 days back to back. Yes. He's been placed on paid vacation, of course, as is tradition. To be fair, there were unbeaten women that needed tending to. He couldn't exactly wait around. I don't even know what to fucking. This dude got into 2 back-to-back hit and runs, covered it up, and the only charges they hit him with are fucking official malfeasance and injuring the public record because he lied about his fucking reports. Hey, Brooke. So here's the one that everybody saw, I think. I think everybody saw this. Bearer, thanks for the follow.
What is y'all doing? What is y'all doing?
Guess. Take a guess what I'm doing.
Hey, you're like a baby to me. Why you?
Guess what I'm doing.
I don't know what you doing. I just see you snatching him up off the.
No.
So what? So what's going on then?
He's stealing stuff. If he breaks into your house to steal something.
Nah, man. What he selling, a bag of chips? So y'all treat me like a whole cold-blooded fucking killer?
Keep walking, dude. You don't even know what you're
Keep
talking
walking.
about.
I know what I just came up and see. I know the fuck I just came up and see.
Okay, what did you see?
I see y'all snatching him up a bike like you're a fucking grown-ass man. Ain't he saying it wasn't him? Fuck is y'all doing?
Crazy. How old is he? 10 years
Fuck is y'all talking about, man?
That's against the law.
Fuck is y'all doing?
You cannot put that.
What is y'all doing? Take the fucking chips. If he stole some chips, I'll pay for him. I'll pay for him. You don't even know where he lives. Y'all just throwing him in the fucking car.
That's what they do. They come here.
Fuck is y'all doing?
Bro?
Leave him alone.
No camera. That's all we can do.
He a kid. What is y'all doing?
Super useful to the community. You know, when they're not busy shooting random black people, you know, they're causing lifelong trauma for children or sneaking into women's buildings, houses, apartments, and recording them surreptitiously, or raping children, or, you know, some of the just litany of things we've covered tonight alone. So, you know, the one of the many services, one of the many important services that police provide to the communities that they so rightfully serve and protect. They can claim whatever they want to claim. Scared straight doesn't work, and we know it. So they can claim whatever the fuck they want to claim. At the end of the day, all I see is child abuse. Child abuse by an organized gang who walk around our streets with impunity, armed to the teeth, who are free to summarily execute people on a whim. So they can say whatever the fuck they want to say. I already see them for what they are. And speaking of, let's see if there's... Ah, yes, there it is. Remember last year during the BLM protests in Philadelphia, there was a young woman who tried to drive down a street that she normally would drive down. And in the process of that, she had her 2-year-old son and was picking up her 16-year-old nephew in West Philadelphia. She was trying to get out of the area of the protests. She took her usual route home from West Philly, and that's when she encountered the protesters and police officers at the intersection of 52nd and Chestnut. Officers ordered her to back up and make a U-turn. She began to make the turn when several officers then ran towards her SUV, hitting, rocking it, breaking window, and attempting to pull the door open. This is when the fucking Officer Cardos started breaking the windows with his metal battalion. He then pulled the young woman out of her vehicle by her hair. This is according to the Internal Investigations Unit and the District Attorney's Office for Special Investigations. She was then hit by fists, batons, and a number of unknown objects. She was also sprayed with mace. She had swelling on her face, body, a swollen trachea, and internal bleeding. Now, this is what people may remember, is when the Fraternal Order for the police union, then took a picture that was being circulated of one of these shit human beings who have a special future waiting for them if there is any justice in this world. They took one of the photos of one of the children being stolen from this woman after she was wrongfully beaten in the street by the police department. And they published it on social media, saying that the child was lost during the violent riots in Philadelphia, wandering around barefoot in an area that was experiencing complete lawlessness. The only thing this Philadelphia police officer cared about in this moment was protecting this child. We are not your enemy. We are the thin blue line, and we are the only thing standing between order and anarchy. They attacked that woman's vehicle. They assaulted her violently. They stole her child from her and then used that child in a bullshit propaganda campaign against the people. Well, the cop who assaulted her, at least, he's been charged officially with assault. The officer has been fired and is now facing charges of assault as well. There's two officers actually that have been fired in relation to the incident. Oh, by the way, in case you were wondering what the young woman does, her name is Rikia Young. If you're wondering what she does, she's a home health care aide. She takes care of people actually. Like for real. In her real life, she actually provides a community service that's necessary. So in her encounter with the police, what did they do? They beat the ever-loving fuck out of her, stole her kids from her, and fucking then used one of them in a propaganda campaign against the people. But we need the cops, everyone. They provide a valuable service to the community. And let's wrap up on Chicago police detective Reynaldo Guevara, who's accused of framing 51 people for murder. At least 51. The number starts at 51. It may be a lot higher than that. We don't actually know. Yeah. Mothers, aunts, sisters, no one will take up the case, by the way. Not the state attorney general's office, not the mayor's office. No one wants to wanted to take up the cause. So the victims themselves took up the cause. If you want, BuzzFeed News has an excellent fucking timeline and breakdown on this. It is a mile fucking long, but the long and short of it is that Chicago got fucking caught again having an insanely corrupt police department, an insanely corrupt district attorney's office, an insanely corrupt mayor's office, up to and including a single officer who is responsible for at least 51 framings of murder. Yeah, just at least 51. This douchebag's name is Reynaldo Guevara, but I mean the fact of the matter is that a lot of people need name checked. A lot of people need name checked. But here's the absolute hero himself framing 51 innocent people for fucking murder that we know of. Oh God, like dude, can we clean up that link? That link is atrocious, man. There. That's the link. I have removed Marcus's godforsaken tracking link. I'm largely convinced that an uncorrupt police department does not exist. Yeah, yes, 100%. So, I mean, this is the law here. I mean, if you want to see how this is very well done, this is very well done here. This is just, it's long. Okay. No one wants a piece of this. Okay. It's a long case to read, but the long and short of it is that like 22 years on. Yeah. So we sort of speed ran some of them, but PoPo's bizarre adventures, everyone.